Perfect. Shows this live on YouTube and Facebook. Excellent. Just double check here. Right. Well, we'll go ahead and hop on and get started. And as folks are starting to join us on the broadcast, you can let us know you're tuned in by, of course, reacting to this video and also providing some quick comments our way. We start off the week with Mondays with our mayor to hear a mayoral kind of message or update. It's generally centered around COVID, but it's also about resources, things that are taking place in the community, often what's being discussed in city council, and even partnerships and collaborative efforts that the city is putting together in partnership with county, with state, and of course the federal level. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and I'm always so pleased to be on here with, of course, our mayor, Mayor Anita Seitz. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Juliette, and good morning, Chamber.
Yes. Well, we're so stoked. We've got a lot of information to share with everyone. The mayor is always pretty detail oriented, so we have a ton to get out there. So let me be very fast and brief with my housekeeping. If this is your very first time on our page, make sure that you hit the like button, that you hit the follow. A lot of you have already been doing that every day as I mentioned this, so thank you for doing so. It allows you to get notified when we go live and post fresh new content. You can also engage with us on all of our social media platforms. Of course, we're on Twitter and Instagram at WestD Chamber, on LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and at the very same time that this is being streamed here on our Facebook page, we are also streaming it on our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. Our website for anyone that would like additional information, whether it's resources, not only here in our community, city, support that's out there for businesses, of course, our partnerships and other items of the such, you can go to westminsterchamber.biz. Now, along the way, as our mayor is giving updates and providing relevant information to us, we ask you to engage with us by letting us know if this information is resonating with you, if you have comments that you want to add, or if you just have any questions. If we don't touch on a question or a topic that you were interested in or had wanted to hear, let us know by dropping in that note, and we'll try and include that in our conversations. Now, I've already pulled up one of the comments that we have over here from Wayne Anderson. Wayne is tuning in from our YouTube channel and is sharing a nice good morning message both to the mayor and myself. As you can see, it will show your profile picture and the comments, and we'll be able to display it on here. If you're not comfortable with that, you can still give us a reaction to the video with that thumbs up, with an emoji reaction, preferably something that doesn't look like that angry head about to explode off. We've got Parker Brown as well from Carrabba's. Thank you, Parker. Good morning to you. Thank you for hopping on to the broadcast with us. So, with that, Mayor Seitz, I know you have a lot on your plate, and I don't want to take up too much of your broadcast. I'm turning this over to you, and I will do my best to capture some of your comments into the comment section.
Well, it's, as always, great to be here, Juliette, and Chamber members. Thank you guys for tuning in. This does feel like a little bit lighter of a report than I've had in the past, so hopefully we're going to have a lot of opportunity for questions and dialogue. Before I start off, just want to give you a recap of what happened last week at the Westminster City Council meeting. I think I had told the group, but we had the opportunity to give a proclamation in celebration of former Mayor George Hovorka's 90th birthday. And former Mayor Hovorka had served the city of Westminster for almost 2 decades, and as a city councilor and also as mayor. And he was able to come receive his proclamation in person. His son was visiting from the Netherlands, which was wonderful to have him here. So after giving the proclamation, he turned and addressed us on council and really gave us some tips about what it takes to be good at running a city. And one of those tips is really not to micromanage, to understand the level of governance that you're at and not try to drift down too much into the day-to-day operational portions of the job, to hire a good city manager and then to work with them in your appropriate roles. It was really something special to have someone with that level of love for the city and experience in doing our jobs. And I know every single member of council was delighted to have him there and to honor him. After that, I did mention to you that we would have a land use hearing. This was for the corner of 128th and Huron, for the Boulder Creek neighborhoods to be known as the Knolls at Big Dry Creek. It was approved by all members of council after going through kind of our criteria, hearing questions that had been emailed from our residents, asking our staff and our developer to answer those questions. The council did go forward with that project.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask about this. How does that work with water? When things are contemplated in our comprehensive plan, the city has already budgeted for and allocated for the water consumption of that project. They've already planned for the infrastructure to that project. So it's not outside of the scope of our existing water budget. So I just thought I'd let people know that. Then just kind of going quickly, again, something near and dear to the Chamber's heart, sign code. We did amend that to be a little bit, to match the spirit of what we were trying to do and get rid of some unnecessarily restrictive language. We did approve our grant that would take a lot of money from CDOT to assist our residents here in Westminster. We did have a resolution to terminate the local state of emergency related to COVID. And I had asked to table it. There was not a desire on the person who made the motion to table it. And so it actually failed, but we will be bringing it back up at the next city council meeting. My goal simply was there was quite a few public health meetings this week because there has been a surge in cases due to the Delta variant. And I just wanted all of council to have the exact same information before we made a decision like this. So we will revisit that next Monday. And I will talk more about those public health meetings here shortly. Afterward, we had a post meeting talking about ballot initiatives for this November ballot. And you guys, you're going to have to sit down and get comfortable when you're looking over your ballot because it is going to be a long one. Every single proposed ballot question is going to go forward. So we'll have a question about wards and districts. We're going to have a question about open space, extending the sunset and allowing bonding on our open space tax. We will have a question about funding for public safety. We are going to have some cleanups to our language in our charter, just a charter cleanup. And then marijuana. Marijuana, do we want to allow for marijuana sales in the city of Westminster will be on the ballot. However, we have asked staff to give some more parameters around that one. So we're really clear with what we're asking the voters to do, acknowledging that we will be regulating it and what types of things we'll be regulating on it. That one did not have unanimous approval to go on the ballot. Both Councilor Seymour and Councilor Smith declined to put that one on the ballot. Councilor Seymour on a few of these, not this one in particular, on a few of these, he did not want to put it forward on the ballot just because he didn't want to get ballot fatigue and wanted to prioritize. This one, I think it was a matter of he didn't want it on the ballot, but he'd have to speak for himself on that. So that is an update on that. On Tuesday night, we had our special study session. And I think this is relevant for this group. We talked a lot about the American Rescue Plan Act recommendations. So where we should use those federal ARPA dollars. Okay. The first big bullet of where we would use these $14.5 million is have about a little more than half of it go to water conservation and long-term water utility cost containment. So the main aim of this program was to bring down peak water need across the city, and that directly relates to construction and operational savings for the city's water utility. It's one of the biggest way. We had a presentation on our water conservation plan and more than impacts of development, This is the biggest way to lower rates for residents is to increase conservation. So there was a study that was done in about 2014 by two Westminster Public Works Department employees that showed rates would have to have been 91% higher in Westminster if we had never had our conservation program. So conservation is the biggest way to save people money. So we're also going to do some turf replacement as part of this at our parks. So making sure we have grass on those high impact areas where people are playing their sports, but in the borders and periphery, having more water conscious plants, more native plants. We're going to be doing a City Hall xeriscaping. We'll be partnering with Western Resource Advocates on this, or at least that's what's proposed at this point. Have an educational garden, a lot of things like that. And then something that's near and dear to my heart, using some of this dollars for targeted open space acquisition, dewatering. So areas like I had mentioned earlier in our comprehensive plan where we had contemplated there being development, if you purchase those and use them as open space, that lowers the water we are planning on using. And so can save again on the infrastructure and water rights needed. Any questions on those? It's a lot of information.
I know it is a lot of information. We've got a lot of great people that are also on here with us. I just want to give some quick shout outs to, I see Jason, Zach, and Christina. Thank you both for hopping on here. I also saw Dee earlier. I am doing my best to pull a lot of the comments that our mayor has shared with you. She does a great job of capturing those ahead of time. And so we're inserting those as she's going over them for you to reference. If you are just now hopping onto the broadcast, we have Mayor Seitz with us giving updates, not only on the council, the meetings that took place last week, including a special meeting that happened, but now moving into kind of our comprehensive plan. What are some of those priorities? What does that look like for our community moving forward? Oh, it looks like Dave Carpenter has shared a quick question. I will go ahead and display on this screen that question. Again, it shows who it is from. It also shows what the question is referencing. Now, Dave has hopped in and is asking, since City Hall uses reclaimed water and not potable water for landscape, does that word really matter? I have the worst time with those phonetically challenging words.
Absolutely, it matters. And in fact, it's over $300,000 a year that it's going to matter between the city parks and City Hall xeriscaping. And so we have a capacity limit right now on our potable water. So this will allow other users to tap into the potable water, but not all city, not 100% of irrigation for the city is done on non-potable water or reclaimed water right now. So this definitely does it. And it also allows us an opportunity to walk the talk. If we're asking our residents to do remove some of their turf, to have more appropriate landscaping for our climate, we should be leading by example. And so it's appropriate, saves people money long term. All of our residents benefit from that. So this is cost containment and avoidance for residents, and it's sustainable, right? And it's scalable. So it's not a one-time investment that helps us this year. These types of investments help our ratepayers and our taxpayers year after year. So it's a really good question, but absolutely. And we did get a slideshow from the presentation, Mr. Carpenter, that I can share to you because it's a great question. It makes a lot of sense. And it was impressive how impactful it was. Okay, sorry. So one of the other buckets that we're going to be spending money on, I think, is something that's not really fun and exciting, but super necessary, and something our residents care a lot about. And this is street maintenance. So putting $4 million into our streets to really help arrest, it won't do it, but help arrest that decline of the condition of our streets in Westminster. We want to make sure that you're not hurting your alignment by hitting potholes, that by delaying treatment or taking care of your streets, any delay in maintenance increases the cost. So this is something that's really critical and important, and we've heard from our residents of value to them. The next, and this is again another long-term return on investment for residents, is fleet electrification. So spending about $900,000 on that. We're following our existing fleet replacement schedule. So we're still getting the highest and best use, the full use out of the fleet that we have, but as we're replacing them with EVs. And the price per mile for maintenance and cost goes significantly down with EVs versus traditional hybrid or full gas combustible. So again, another way to save taxpayers money. And then the next is public safety facilities and vehicle improvements, $800,000 for that. Improving technology for city council chambers. That's $1 million that they have budgeted for that at this point in time. And so trying to make sure that long-term residents are able to watch what's going on, hold us accountable to our votes, to our comments and our conversations in a much more professional way than we have currently. Anyone who's tried to watch some of our meetings from home the last few months recognizes we've had some tech troubles. So really improving that. And honestly, Westminster's been a laggard compared to our neighbors in this area. So it's time for us to catch up. And then the Human Service Board, there was a lot of desire from council to beef up this number and perhaps take from some of these other buckets. But the Human Service Board, giving them an additional $300,000 rather, to allocate to nonprofits that serve the Westminster community. So these were the recommendations. Council gave some, brief adjustments. We'd like to see this a little more here, a little less there, and ask for clarifications. But for the most part, we're supportive of these recommendations at this point. This will come back and council will vote on it here in the near future. So I mentioned already that there are multiple public health department meetings this week. And I spoke directly with the director of Tri-County Health in addition to those meetings to make sure I was understanding what he had said at the previous meeting I had attended with him. And unfortunately, it appears that COVID numbers continue not to tell us a great story. The new variants are more transmissible and are circulating due to the recent surge of Delta. It's now estimated that to hit herd immunity, we need to have more like 80% of the population vaccinated, and that's the full population, not just the eligible. And so we have a ways to go to get vaccination numbers up to hit that. And that's according to the Infectious Disease Society of America briefing on August 3rd. The CDC reports that the Delta variant is nearly twice as contagious as previous variants of COVID. And the greatest risk of transmission is among the unvaccinated. So you're much more likely, and I haven't done this before. I do have a screen I can share. Maybe hold off on doing that since we're running a little low on time. But it's really dramatic, guys. And I'm just gonna look at it real quick and tell you it, unless you'd like me to try to share my screen. But basically, of those that have contracted the virus, I'm going to zoom in on this. Only about, let's see here, 21.4% have been breakthrough cases. For hospitalizations, it's only 0.1% of folks who have been vaccinated end up hospitalized from their breakthrough case. And then the death incidence is only 0.04%. So, definitely concerning. You want to make sure that if you can get vaccinated, if you've been hesitant, this might be the time to reconsider, because it's as contagious as chickenpox. So wanted to go through that. I did provide for Juliet to share with you. You just want to look at the numbers yourself. I'm kind of that way. I like to look at the numbers myself. So I have included the link for statewide data, for Tri-County Health data, and for Jeffco data. So the 7-day cumulative incidence right now in Jefferson County is 128.22. per 100,000. In Jeffco, it's 91.9. And just as a reminder, back on July 12th, it was about 22 in Jeffco. So it's going up significantly, but not that different from what I talked to you guys about last week. It doesn't feel like it's still shooting up. It's higher in Adams, but Jeffco's about the same. The 7, and that is in the range that they gave us, a state. This is in the high rate of incidence. For both of these. The 7-day average test positivity in Adams is 7.5%, and in Jeffco it's 4.8%. So on average, 7% of those that were tested were positive. In hospitalizations, the current number of positive and people who they suspect to have COVID that are hospitalized in Adams County is 76. 14 of those are people that they presume are positive with COVID. And these are not broken down by COVID patients. These are full capacity numbers I'm about to give you. But the current available ICU beds, so ICU beds in Adams County are 91.6% full with 8.4% capacity. And inpatient beds are 87.3% full with 12.7% capacity. But again, to be clear, that's not all COVID patients. That's combined with all of the patients that are utilizing them. That hospitalization number, I just wanted to highlight this. It's, we were going to get out of level clear and go into level blue if we ever get to an average of 2 admissions per day. Over a 14-day period. As of the 13th, because the data wasn't updated this morning for this weekend, we were at 0.7724 in Adams County. And while that's still clearly well below that 2 mark, I did just want to point out it was on July 22nd, so not that long ago, it was at 0.4689. So it has creeped up pretty quickly when you consider those are averages. And then in Jeffco, it is at 0.72. And again, on that July 22nd, it was at 0.36. So, that's a doubling there. And again, that was as of Fridays. That wasn't today's data. So I have 3 kids. I think most of you know that. I bet there's a lot of parents there that their kids have either started school or going to start school this week. And the districts in Westminster, all 3 are handling it slightly differently. So Adams 12, one thing you should know is if you have a child that's between kindergarten and 6th grade, in all 3 schools, they're going to need to be masked. However, in Westminster Public Schools, all kids, regardless of age or vaccination status, are going to be masked, as will the faculty. In Adams 12, if you're over 6th grade, it's strongly encouraged to wear a mask, but it is not required. And so in Jeffco, it's going to be kids K through 6, and then they have really detailed orders about what faculty needs to do in order. Everybody needs to provide their proof of vaccination by August 16th or provide testing and masking. So there's each school's slightly different, but everybody's taking it seriously, recognizing we don't want the start of school to create a situation where kids go remote again. I think everybody's goal is to keep those kids in the classroom. And so my kids, even my older kids, even though we're Adams 12, will be wearing masks because I have 3 kids, 3 schools, and I have 1 child that's too young to get vaccinations at this time. And so we don't want to put her at an undue risk. So is there any questions on that? And recognize I don't speak for the school districts, but just wanted to give you the best data I had available.
We do have some questions that have kind of filtered through along the way of some of our information. And thank you, Mayor, for providing us with some data points that people can reference. I also just want to quickly recognize, because I see a few other people, Tara, Gerald are on here, John, and Jeff, thank you for all of you being on here with us and engaging with the broadcast. So I also see Mayor Pro Tem DeMont has hopped on and is sharing a quick good morning message our way. Tara was asking, how are PICUs looking?
I think she means PICU.
ICUs? Yeah,
Is
I
it the
think so.
PICU? I don't have it broken down by that. I can tell Tara, not in regards to PICU, one population, and I think she might mean pediatric ICU. I have heard there was an op-ed that State Representative Kyle Mullica put out talking about pediatric ICU beds filling up quickly. I have heard, but not directly from the source, that children's is starting to see ICU bed capacity issues. But again, that is not, I have not heard that directly from the source or from one of our public health directors. But I think it's an important thing to note. Those ICU capacity numbers I give you are, they aren't broken down into discrete groups. And so there is a very big difference between pediatric ICU and the ability to adequately treat those pediatric patients. And I do know at the governor's presser on Thursday of last week, he mentioned that there were 7 children under the age of 10 that were hospitalized for COVID. So unfortunately, I think it's still much better. We're still lucky that even Delta doesn't attack children the way a lot of other diseases do, but it does seem to be more of a concern for young patients than the previous versions or the previous variants.
Of course. And thank you, Emilio, for hopping on here and giving us a nice good morning message our way. Dave, thank you, Dave Carpenter, for helping me in pronouncing that word. I will practice that so I don't butcher it into the future. Appreciate you spelling that out phonetically for me. I see a question coming to us from Scott Leisure, and Scott's question is in regard to vaccination. So earlier we were talking about how the virus has had some breakthrough cases, how many of those have gone to hospitalization, of course, how many percentage-wise went into the death category overall from those that have been vaccinated. So this question kind of came immediately after that. Scott's asking if City of Westminster is now requiring or is requiring vaccination for city employees.
Thank you, Scott, and I love your sunglasses in the picture. So at this time, Westminster is not requiring vaccinations for employees, but if you were on here last week, you might have heard me mention that Denver had moved that direction. So Denver is requiring not just city employees or county employees, but any business where someone is providing care to another within the city of Denver, whether that's primary care physicians or massage therapists, will have to, by September 30th, be fully vaccinated. And so that's the route Denver has gone. I did mention last week as well that there was a meeting with the Metro mayors and Dr. Comstock, the Director of Public Health for Jefferson County, where she asked municipalities to look at doing something similar to what kind of Jeffco Public Schools has done, which is require of our employees. Her goal is not really a vaccine mandate, but if you are providing care to someone, they don't have a choice in who responds to their car crash, right? Or who comes to their house fire. And so asking us to require our employees to prove they're not an undue risk to our residents. And so having them do either weekly testing, masking, and practicing social distancing, or being exempted from that by providing proof of vaccination. Westminster has not moved forward with that. I don't know of any municipalities that have moved forward with that yet, but it's something that we're looking at. She is also looking at an order that would be similar to that from a county public health department level, which obviously with Westminster, when we have 2 counties, that can be confusing for our businesses and for our residents. So we're waiting to see if Tri-County Health might be on that same page. So to answer your question, no, but we are being asked to look at that by Jeffco Public Health Department and Tri-County Health Department. And on the Jeffco side, it may become a moot issue because they may move forward with a public health order, so on their own. So not trying to duck the question. It's a good question. It's what everybody's talking about. And every mayor has said we don't want to have a patch. I shouldn't say we. Most mayors I've talked to do not want to have patchwork of regulation. We'd like to provide some clarity and not have a credibility gap for the recommendations. So we'd really like the public health departments to get on the same page, and then we'd like to operate on the same page.
Absolutely. And thank you for that question, Scott, and that answer, Mayor. Mayor, this is more of a comment from Dave than it is a question. I just wanted to flash it up here if there's anything that you feel that you would like to comment on this in the time that we have. Again, this is in reference to some of the numbers that we're seeing with Delta and some of the considerations that people are putting on there, maybe how they're personally feeling by seeing an increase in that. And he's referencing, he's also included a link for some people to kind of go to and learn more about what he's citing. But is this something you've become aware? Has this been brought up in discussion with public health, or have they? Is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, so the directors of public health for both Tri-County and for Jeffco, and Dr. Douglas has I believe, a PhD in infectious health, have both cited the chickenpox as what it's more similar to. I am not an infectious disease expert, so I'm repeating what they said. But, the RO, I actually thought the Delta COVID RO was closer to 5, not 6. And they had it up next to chickenpox on a graph. And I think there's actually a bar. So like Delta COVID is probably 4 to 6 and chickenpox is something. So they might have some overlap. But it is, again, the example used by multiple public health professionals, not one that I created. So.
Okay, awesome. I know there's other things that are on your radar. We're a little bit over the 30-minute mark. So is there anything out of all of that that you would like to at least get out there for people to know about?
No, I think, again, I've mentioned it before, but the state is offering businesses to be part of the solution and have the power to come back. The good news I have heard from each public health director that I have talked to is they really don't want to see capacity limits or closures again. And so really the best path forward is trying to get us up to that highest level of vaccination that gets us closer to herd immunity. And so there is a campaign called Power the Comeback that your business can be part of that solution if you're interested.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I know that it's a lot of information that we've been able to share with you guys. We appreciate all the comments, the questions that you throw our way, and the information just shows that you are being engaged. You're being an active listener with us. Again, thank you for all those questions that have come through and the number of you that are tuned in today. Thank you. It looks like our past chairman is sharing a quick note for the updates. Of course, Scott was very appreciative of the comment about his glasses as well. He's given us that emoji that's showing him smiling with it. The mayor did cite a number of different websites that are available for you to reference for any COVID data. We talked about the COVID-19 page on the state page. That's included in the comment section here. And of course, on the YouTube channel for Tri-County Health Department, the link is also included that she has provided. And of course, for our Jeffco Health Department as well, there is a link for you to follow up with should you have any interest or direct questions. If you have any comments that you would like to make on the overview that we've provided in terms of kind of the strategy for the city and where some of those allocations are going to and some of their key priorities, there is an email that our mayor has provided to you that you can always reference in your comments or your questions directly to them. Tara's also giving us a nice heart, and thank you for that as well. So crazy busy Monday. Thank you guys for engaging. If you are hopping on here and we are no longer live, give us the hashtag replay. Let us know you tuned in. If you had a question you weren't comfortable sharing out with the public, you can always DM the page and we will get you that answer. Of course, know that we try and give you the information as quickly as possible. And as the mayor has shared, there may be some things that you go in detail on that health department may have, and we'll try and get that information for you and turn around and give you that. We'll be back on here with a live broadcast on Wednesday. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Mayor, for being on here with us.
Thank you for having me. And as always, if people have questions that they want to just, maybe they don't want to talk about in this forum, but they want to email me directly, I am always happy to engage residents in any conversation.
Well, we so appreciate that. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye, Juliet.
Bye.
Bye, Chamber.